Miami. This is 305 Sports Now, your home podcast and channel for all things Miami sports related. I am Will, and today I am doing another coaching special as I'm talking about the defensive coordinator for the Miami Hurricanes, Lance Guidry, right? The Louisiana native comes to us from Marshall, all right, the Thundering Herd, in which he led a very powerful and destructive defense, in his wake, and he is going to bring that defense over to the Miami Hurricanes. Just a little bit about Lance Guidry's team over at Marshall. It was flat out a beast, okay? It was literally top 10 in almost every single category. Now, this is an age in college football where scoring is absolutely insane. You see teams putting up 30 points per game, 35 points per game, 40 points per game. Well, guess what? Marshall held its opponents to an average of 16 points per game. And also, you think, 3.5 yards. No. Rushing per game. No. Marshall, 2.9 yards rushing per game. All right, as well. And in terms of passing offense, only 201 yards per average per game for passing as well. All right. They ranked 8th in total defense, right, in the NCAA, 8th in total defense. They ranked 5th in stopping the run, and they ran 6th in interceptions as well. And the notable victory for Marshall this year was going to South Bend, Indiana, and beating the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, who were ranked 18th in the country at the time, 26-21. Guidry's defense totally outclassed Notre Dame. They absolutely confused Notre Dame. So what is Lance Guidry's system? I know I've covered him before. Like I've mentioned, in other podcasts, Lance Guidry is a fusion of Manny Diaz with Vic Fangio. I know some of you guys don't compare him to Manny Diaz. Manny Diaz was a pretty solid defensive coordinator for Miami, especially his first couple seasons. So we enjoyed the aggressive style, all the sacks and turnovers they were getting, hence remember the turnover chain. So, if you don't like the Manny Diaz comparison, I'm just trying to relate it to the U. All right. So and locally as well, with Vic Fangio being the DC over for the Miami Dolphins, because his defense is aggressive, but it's very assignment based, right? That's where the Vic Fangio side comes in. Vic Fangio's defense is not known for being a blitzing defense. It's known for disguising coverages, which confuses quarterbacks. And that's something that Lance Guidry's defense does. It's an aggressive defense where they will blitz, all right? But there will be a responsibility for players to keep their positions to prevent big gains. And that's what pretty much separates, Lance a little bit from Manny. A lot of times, with Manny's defense, you get high risk, high reward, whereas Lance Guidry, you get a balance of both, all right? You get the high risk, the high reward, but it's not supposed to be pretty damaging, if it doesn't work out in terms of blitzing. So again, assignment-based football is very important in Lance Guidry's defense. So for example, if there is a blitzing linebacker, it is up to his teammate, or if up to his teammate, maybe another linebacker, or a safety if he's creeping down, to pretty much to make sure that spot is protected. So if there's a running back who leaks out, all right, a running back who leaks out, or a tight end who leaks out on the screen, the safety or the linebacker that's in coverage, controlling that zone, is able to make the play. So it's he understands that college football today, there's a lot of spacing on offense, and he's trying to take away that spacing from the offense by pretty much playing a tight coverage on defense, okay? Great evaluator of talent. I was overhearing him, in his interview with Inside the U in a press conference, and he pretty much laid out how exactly his defense is going to look, all right? He believes pretty much in an aggressive style, as I mentioned, but one thing he does emphasize is he does believe in the rotation of defensive tackles. So don't be surprised if Leonard Taylor III does get rotated on a regular basis. Maybe not as much as he was rotated last year by Kevin Steele, but Guidry's explanation is the fact that defensive tackles tend to be a bit bigger in size and tend to take on the stronger, heaviest guys in the interior. So that is why they need a breather every so often. But don't expect so much of rotation within a series from the linebackers or the defensive backs. Those guys will primarily, stay in place. Another thing he did talk about as well is something that's been talked about amongst Canes fans in regards to James Williams, and he will possibly play linebacker on several occasions depending on the sequence throughout the season. He's going to play a safety position, but he will be used at linebacker as well. One of the main reasons why he talked about that is because when you're being looked at by NFL scouts, they like defenders that are a bit more multifaceted, not one-trick ponies. So if he could play, safety, all right, and protect pretty much, out in center field and so on, and protecting deep, could play coverage as well, whether it's on a man or off man. All right, they want to make sure he could also stop the run and be an effective tackler. So therefore, that's where the outside linebacker thing comes in, or also make sure that he's covering a quick tight end or a running back who may leak out as well, and pretty much preventing potential damage, to the Hurricanes defense where the opposing offense is on the field. So that's a bit about Lance Guidry in terms of how he's going to look at James Williams this year. He also said that a lot of the corners, the boundary guys, they may also play nickel as well. Again, reason being is so there's tape on you, to make sure that you're not just, oh, he's just a boundary guy. You could play nickel as well. So he's looking at guys at different positions to pretty much make them multifaceted. That's also similar to what Mauro Cristobal said about his linemen. In the NFL, you could be drafted as a left tackle, but if they already have a left tackle, they may move you to right tackle. So he likes his offensive linemen to be a bit diverse when it comes to position, not just stick to one side, which would be, let's say, left tackle. So if they need you at left guard, you could slip into left guard. So Guidry's running, his defense in a very similar fashion. He's running his defense in a fashion where, you're not just going to be, especially in coverage, you're not just going to be in one spot. You're going to be in multiple spots, to disguise coverages and also to give you an opportunity to impress the NFL scouts so you go higher, in your draft class as well. All right, so this is pretty much what I liked, what I've heard. He's been successful in every school he's been at. He's only been a D coordinator in small schools, all right, schools like McNeese State, or coach defense, not just a defensive coordinator, but also coach defense, because he coached safeties over at FIU. So McNeese State, FAU, FAU, not FIU, FAU, and also he was the D coordinator for the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers as well. So that's pretty much what I like about Coach Guidry. I like the style. I do think that the talent that the University of Miami has is going to benefit, Lance Guidry a lot, because a lot of the players, especially since last year, we did get a lot of blue chip linebackers from the 2023 class. So those kids, especially the freshmen, I think we'll see a lot of run in Guidry's defense. I do also like the fact that Miami also has been able to recruit, the defensive ends that are elite as well, like Najee Kelly, Cyrus Moss, and then Ruben Bain, of course, Jaden Wayne, and now with Marquise Lightfoot as well. So Lance Guidry will have a lot of tools to be, once again, a very successful defensive coordinator for his team, which is the Miami Hurricanes. So I'm excited about Coach Guidry. I do think eventually the Miami Hurricanes defense will return to elite status as well. The only flaw is that we may be a bit, undersized at the defensive tackle position. That's why I really wanted a guy like Bear Alexander. Bear, who's a huge guy, played for Georgia, ended up choosing USC. I was hoping Miami was able to get him so he could clog up, a lot of those lanes and be able to take up some blocks so those linebackers can make plays when they need to make plays, and the safeties as well if they're playing closer to the box and so on. But we didn't get him, and he did address that, and he said that you just have to be creative, with your defensive tackles. But he said, they're pretty skilled, and many defensive tackles could play, not just the tackle position, but they could also go, to the edge, i.e., Hakeem Mesidor. All right. He even talked about Ruben Bain playing a little bit in the inside as well, because he's just that good of an athlete. And it's also a problem for a lot of the guards. So he's got a good head on his shoulders. The one thing I like about Coach Guidry is the fact that you could tell that he, just like Coach Dawson, there's a bit of fire there. Because this is, for Guidry, this is the biggest job he's gotten so far, right? Nothing, against Marshall, but the University of Miami has a much more recognizable brand than does Marshall. So he's very excited. You can tell from the way he speaks, the way he's evaluated his talent, that he's looking forward to kicking butt, on the defensive side of the ball this year. Again, it will be some growing pains. There was a lot of roster turnover. And again, I do believe the younger football players like Aguirre, Bryant, Wayne, Bain are going to get a lot of responsibility, are going to shoulder up a lot of the load, as far as the defense goes, to make sure this team is successful for years to come. But I'm excited. I do think this Miami Hurricane football team eventually will be elite. Guidry has proven it, has got the track record, and the Canes are ready to roll up in the ACC. All right, everybody, if you like what you heard, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to 305 Sports Now. Once again, I am Will. Stay safe. God bless. See you soon. Go Canes. All about the U. Bye-bye, guys.